Hello. Thanks for being here. Just a quick reminder, because I didn't see when Jason asked, how many people have already voted today? Quick show of hands. Awesome. Thank you. And a reminder once more, if you haven't voted, you still have another hour to do so. Please get out there and vote. It's really important. And it's important, and it's a reminder that I'm sharing today because I'm building a company that is helping to digitize government. So how many of you voted today and used a piece of paper? Right? I know, still in 2019, how could that be? And so much of government is still stuck on paper. And that's what Proof is trying to do, not with voting yet, not with elections, but with everything that happens after an election. There are 3.5 million people in Canada who work for the public sector, and they're still doing a lot on paper. And we experience how that slows things down, and Proof is helping to digitize government so that they can make better, faster decisions. But today I want to talk a little bit about something that government needs to do better, something that as a startup founder or entrepreneur, you absolutely need to do well, and that is to embrace failure. So I'm going to tell you 3 stories from my journey that helped me. I'm a failure master. I got my slides in just 3 hours before the presentation today. So I want you to think about an example where you failed and think about how hard that is, how it feels. It sucks, right? Failing, we've equated this to being something that isn't good. But actually, if you reframe it, failing in a startup is something that's inevitable, something that's necessary. And for any startup, you have to do it a certain number of times. So do it quickly. This is my first startup. It's called Elacart. And we were, back in 2010, before the iPad came out, building tablets for restaurants so you could order and pay without having to wait. We were trying to replace all of this for Applebee's with something like this. And it was really hard because when we tried to sell this to Applebee's in 2010, we looked like this. And I look back at this picture now and I wouldn't have purchased something from me. Certainly not when Applebee's is in 2,000 locations, and we were talking about 100,000 tablets. How could we pull this off? Well, they said no, but we did something that you have to do when you first fail. You go in for feedback. We went in, I managed to get a meeting, and they told me the 10 different things that we did wrong, and I said, hey, if we change these, if we fix them, would you let us have another shot? And they thought, yeah, sure, get out of here. And we did that. And we did it again and again. And we did it for 3 years. And eventually, we won that deal. A rollout nationally, our tablets are in every Applebee's across the United States because we didn't give up and we asked for feedback. This is my second company. It's called ClearBank. How many of you heard of ClearBank? It's an amazing company growing super fast. They are giving growth capital to online brands. This is the early website at ClearBank, and here are some early wireframes. Now, the earliest idea that we came up with was to help Uber drivers get access to their capital faster. Because if you drive on Uber, you don't get paid for a week, and sometimes you run out of money and can't buy gas. So this was the idea. But the problem was, ultimately, we ran into too many people at Uber who were just using it as a part-time stopgap, and so once they got some money, they stopped driving on Uber, and then we couldn't get paid back. This was a problem. We tried Airbnb next, and eventually it evolved from that, but not without a lot of failed experiments along the way. This was the early team. There were just a few of us in an Airbnb office in San Francisco. And now ClearBank has over 160 people. They've raised hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think the reason they've been successful is because of the speed of their experimentation. They've been incredibly quick at experimenting, learning from failures, and moving on to greater success. So politics, this was mentioned earlier. I used to work in the House of Commons. I ran in the last federal election, and I failed. I learned a lot from that, but it was an important lesson, and it helped me go on to build a company called Proof. This was our first website. We were building a data dashboard for the city of Squamish. And we gave up after a month because we realized there wasn't enough data out there to provide in a meaningful way. Fast forward 3 years, and this is what it looks like now. We're working with governments at all levels across the country. But my co-founder, Luke, and me, we almost didn't make it. we were having trouble aligning and figuring things out. And this is where I learned the most important lesson of failure all right from the beginning, which is that we had to hire a coach. We hired a coach before a CTO. And she helped us work through not just being better entrepreneurs, but being better people. And I think that's been really key to our success. I'll leave you with one key line that I think is really important. Your ability to pivot more quickly and effectively after disproving a hypothesis. So you have an idea and it fails, that's a good thing. That is your advantage over everyone else. So startups, remember to fail, learn, and repeat. Thanks so much for your time. And go vote.
Questions?
Hi. You mentioned very at the beginning that you were working on hopefully digitizing more things in the government. I know you mentioned voting. I'm not sure if you were specifically talking about that, but in regards to, I guess, voting specifically, I know there can be sometimes concerns with security. So is that something that you guys are keeping in mind with this sort of effort? And if so, I realize this is a bit of a vague question, but like what kind of things are you guys concerning in that regard?
What's your name?
Lucas, sorry.
Lucas, thank you so much for the question about voting. So we at Proof aren't tackling voting yet. What we do is we're streamlining approvals. So every time government makes a decision, a dozen people have to sign off on it. And literally there's a folder that moves from desk to desk to desk and it gets lost. And that's why things take so long. We're helping public servants digitize that process to move things more quickly. But security comes up a lot, even if it's not voting, right? The government holds a lot of secure information about you, and that's one of the things that's holding them back from adopting new technologies and moving to the cloud. It's inevitable. I've seen it happen in the restaurant space, in fintech, and it is going to happen in government too. And so we are working with government to make them feel safe and secure with something as innocuous as approving a travel claim, and then ultimately voting too.
Hello, Ben. My name is Evan. I work for a tech company here in Toronto. I do sales. I sell to the public sector, or at least I try to. How do you...
I feel your pain.
Yeah, early on, or even today, how do you deal with those long buy cycles? That's pretty commonplace in the public sector, especially if you're a small company trying to grow.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Boy, it sucks. It's hard, right? I thought selling to restaurants was tough. 3 years to get an Applebee's deal when I kept thinking it was just a month away, just a month away. Government's, in many ways, worse. I think one of the key things for the success of any startup is the timing, right? And I do believe that there is fundamentally a wave of change happening in government now, because we, the people, are demanding it, right? We're demanding it from our politicians, but we're also demanding it from government. More millennials are the biggest voting bloc in this election than ever before, and so those millennials you're taking over power in government too, and you're more adept to want to bring in technology and change. The cloud is finally just hitting government. It's unreal, but that's just happening for the first time now with Amazon and Microsoft hosting data centers in Canada. That's allowing governments here to go online. So, one of the ways that we've been successful early on is by totally ignoring the way that people used to sell to government through RFPs, and instead kind of hacking our way in, finding champions on the inside, giving them the opportunity to collaborate with us and be involved in building something. And there are these innovation teams that are popping up in government now, and they are looking for solutions from startups like you to team up with them and work on something iterative. And that's allowing us to get a foot in the door. And once we're in, then we have this opportunity to land and expand. So that would be my best advice to you.
One final question.
Hello, my name is Klaus. I do not come from Canada. I come from lovely Scandinavia, where we do have a lot of other public IT systems. And though those projects are always a mess, we kind of end up having very good IT solutions in some way. So as a public, as a private person as me, doing your taxes or making a new company for that matter, or anything, that stuff is really easy. We do not have online voting because that's a whole other story per security and all that. But have you looked to other countries for inspiration for helping the public sector? And if not, consider looking to Scandinavia and other countries for the public IT sector, as things are quite different than they are in North America. So like question, recommendation, yeah.
Yeah, you're kicking our butt. Canada and the United States, we're incredibly far behind, and part of that is because there isn't competition in government, right? And so we kind of sometimes just accept the status quo. But the reality is, as you pointed out, is that in Europe, there are some incredible things happening. There's a country called Estonia. Has anyone ever heard of it? Yeah, right? I think they got hacked pretty hard a decade ago, and so they were forced to make a change. But in doing so, they brought out some incredible transformations, one of which is, and I'm actually a card holder, you can become an e-resident of Estonia right now without ever setting foot there. That allows you to open a bank in the EU, to incorporate your business, and without ever going to Estonia, you can start to build a business there and plug into the European market and start contributing tax dollars to Estonia without being a tax burden. And they have more applicants for that program today than they have natural births. Think about that, right? There's a potential future in which governments are going to be competing for talent from entrepreneurs. And they're going to have to provide the best services in order to retain that talent. And so I think not only is it important for governments here in Canada to be adopting technology more quickly because it'll help us not have to wait in line so long, but in order to be competitive in the global market, we have to do better. And I'm excited to work with the team at Proof. There are a number of us here tonight. Please come up and talk with us. And if you're thinking of starting, if you're thinking of an idea and you want to go tackle something, we need your help. Even if you're not part of Proof, we need more companies providing solutions to government. It's the biggest market in the world, and it's underserved, and things are changing. So come help us upgrade government.
Thank you.